SpaceX's secret weapon, complete script. Behind every SpaceX success, there's one woman making it happen. While Elon chases headlines, Gwyn Shotwell runs the show. She just dropped a bombshell. 400 Starship launches in 4 years. That's impossible, except she's the one who saved SpaceX from bankruptcy with a $1.6 billion NASA deal. Jeff Bezos tried everything to steal her. She said no. Now Blue Origin is eating dust while SpaceX dominates. The woman turning space travel into an everyday business, the secret weapon nobody talks about. Let's dive right in. The night everything almost ended. December 2008. SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne. The conference room was dead silent. 3 Falcon 1 rockets exploded. Gone. $90 million burned up in spectacular failures. Elon Musk sat there staring at the numbers. The company had maybe 8 weeks of cash left, maybe less. But across the table sat a woman who refused to panic. Gwyn Shotwell had been working the phones for months. Not just any phones, NASA's phones. She knew something nobody else did. Something that would change everything. The woman who almost said no. 6 years earlier, Shotwell was facing her own crisis. 39 years old, going through a brutal divorce. 2 young kids to feed, bills piling up. Then this young guy named Elon Musk calls her up, wants to hire her for some rocket company nobody's heard of. The offer? Less money than her current job. At a startup that had never successfully launched anything. She almost hung up, but something about his vision, Mars colonies, reusable rockets, making space travel as common as flying to New York. It sounded crazy, impossible. Here's the thing about impossible dreams. Sometimes they need someone practical enough to make them real. The freeway moment that saved SpaceX. Shotwell was driving on the 405 freeway. Los Angeles traffic at its worst. Cars barely moving, that's when it hit her. I was being a total idiot, she would later admit. Who cares if I tried this job and either I failed or the company failed? One moment of clarity on a congested freeway changed the entire future of space exploration. She took the job. Employee number 7 at SpaceX, September 2002. What nobody knew then. She wasn't just joining a rocket company, she was about to become the most powerful woman in aerospace. The $1.6 billion miracle. Back to that conference room in 2008. While Elon was calculating how many weeks they had left, Shotwell was on a different kind of mission. She'd been quietly negotiating with NASA for months. Not the flashy Mars missions everyone talks about, real work. Cargo deliveries to the International Space Station. The kind of contract that keeps companies alive. December 23, 2008, 3 days before Christmas, NASA announced the Commercial Resupply Services contract. $1.6 billion, 12 missions to the space station. SpaceX got it. But here's what makes this story incredible. Shotwell negotiated that deal when SpaceX had only launched 1 successful rocket. Ever, NASA was betting $1.6 billion on potential. On her word that SpaceX could deliver. Talk about pressure. The Blue Origin betrayal that never happened. Fast forward to 2020, Jeff Bezos is frustrated. His space company Blue Origin has been around longer than SpaceX. More money, better facilities, famous founder, but they're losing, badly. SpaceX is launching every few days. Blue Origin still hasn't reached orbit, not once. So Bezos does what billionaires do when they can't beat you. He tries to buy your best people. The target? Gwyn Shotwell. The offer was reportedly massive. Money beyond imagination. Complete control of Blue Origin's operations. A chance to build her own space empire. She said no. Why would the most sought-after executive in aerospace turn down unlimited resources? The answer reveals everything about what's really happening in the space race. The machine that eats competitors while Blue Origin was making offers, SpaceX was making history. 2024 numbers tell the story. SpaceX completed 132 launches. That's 1 rocket every 2.7 days. Blue Origin, 0 orbital launches. Still. But it's not just about rockets. It's about the system Shotwell built. Traditional aerospace works like this. Build rocket, launch rocket, throw rocket away, start over. It's like buying a new car every time you want to drive somewhere. Shotwell flipped that model completely. Land the rocket, inspect it, refuel it, launch it again, like a commercial airplane. Sounds simple? The engineering challenges are staggering. Rockets experience temperatures of 3,000 degrees, G-forces that would crush a human, vibrations that can shatter steel. Yet SpaceX rockets now land themselves, autonomously, on floating platforms in the ocean. The first time you see it, it looks like science fiction. The Starship gamble that could change everything. Now Shotwell is making promises that sound impossible again. 400 Starship launches in 4 years. To put that in perspective, the entire world launched about 200 rockets total last year. She's talking about doubling global launch capacity, with one company, in 4 years. But here's why she's not crazy. Each Starship can carry 150 tons to orbit. That's 5 times more cargo than Falcon 9. At $30 to $40 million less per launch, do the math. One Starship launch equals 5 Falcon 9 launches, at a fraction of the cost. If she pulls this off, SpaceX won't just dominate the space industry, they'll reinvent it completely. The Mars mission nobody saw coming, Shotwell, has a plan that sounds like a movie plot. Send Tesla's Optimus robots to Mars, not rovers with wheels, walking, human-shaped robots. These aren't toys. Each Optimus robot can lift 150 pounds, navigate rough terrain, potentially build structures. The mission serves multiple purposes. Test Starship's ability to land on Mars, deploy infrastructure for future human missions. But there's a deeper strategy here. If Starship can deliver robots safely to Mars, it can deliver humans next. The timeline? Human missions to Mars by 2029, maybe 2031. That's not science fiction anymore. That's a business plan. The economics of space domination. Starlink generated $8 billion in revenue last year, but that's just the beginning. Current Starlink satellites provide internet speeds up to 100 megabits per second. The new V3 satellites? 1 terabit per second. That's 10,000 times faster. If Starship becomes fully operational, each Starlink deployment saves SpaceX $40 million compared to using Falcon 9. With 40,000 satellites planned, the math is staggering. But it's not just about internet, it's about infrastructure for the entire planet. Remote surgery via satellite, instant global communications, internet access for every human on Earth. Shotwell isn't just launching rockets, she's building the nervous system for human civilization. The Pentagon's ultimate vote of confidence. The U.S. military just made their position clear. $5.9 billion contract to SpaceX, the largest share of their $13.7 billion national security space launch program. They're not paying for potential, they're paying for results. While competitors like Blue Origin and ULA are still figuring out reusability, SpaceX is already planning classified military missions. The Pentagon knows something the public doesn't. When national security is on the line, you call Gwyn Shotwell, the woman who fixed everything. So, who is Gwyn Shotwell really? She grew up in Libertyville, Illinois, small town, middle-class family. Dad was a neurosurgeon, mom was an artist. As a kid, she fixed bikes, fixed cars, loved taking things apart and putting them back together. When she applied for her first engineering job, they rejected her, said she couldn't lift heavy objects because she was a woman. Now she runs operations for the most valuable private space company in history, commands the respect of NASA administrators, has Jeff Bezos trying to recruit her. The girl they said couldn't lift heavy objects now lifts entire rockets into space. The next 4 years will define everything. Shotwell's plan isn't just ambitious, it's transformative. 400 Starship launches means SpaceX will control more than half of all global space activity. Lower costs for everyone, faster internet, realistic Mars colonization. But it also means every other space company will have to completely reimagine their business or get left behind. Boeing's Starliner program? Years behind schedule, billions over budget. Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket? Still hasn't flown. Virgin Galactic? Focused on space tourism, while SpaceX builds interplanetary infrastructure. The gap isn't just widening, it's becoming unbridgeable. The ultimate question: can Gwyn Shotwell actually deliver on these promises? 400 launches in 4 years. That's 100 launches per year, nearly 2 per week. Even for the woman who saved SpaceX from bankruptcy, who negotiated billion-dollar deals, who built the most successful rocket company in history, that might be the ultimate test. But here's what makes her different from every other aerospace executive. She's already proven the impossible is just another engineering problem waiting to be solved. So here's what we know. Gwyn Shotwell turned a failing rocket startup into the world's most powerful space company. She saved SpaceX from bankruptcy, built a launch system that makes rockets land themselves, and now she's promising to launch 400 Starships in 4 years. That's not just ambitious, that's rewriting the rules of physics, economics, and human possibility. But here's the deeper question nobody's asking. What happens when space isn't expensive anymore? When launching satellites costs the same as shipping a package? When Mars isn't a distant dream, but a weekend destination? Shotwell isn't just building rockets. She's building the infrastructure for humanity's next chapter. The woman who almost said no to a crazy billionaire's phone call is now making our science fiction real. The space race isn't over. It's just beginning. And the winner gets to decide what human civilization looks like for the next 100 years. What do you think? Can she really pull off 400 launches? Or is this the moment when even Gwyn Shotwell finally promises something impossible? Drop your predictions below. And if you want to see what happens when the impossible becomes inevitable, stick around, because the stories we're about to tell will blow your mind. The universe is waiting, and so are we. SpaceX just built something at Starbase that nobody expected, and it changes everything. Look at this, 17 massive foundation piles going into the ground, a 300-foot manufacturing bay taking shape. But here's what's really wild. They're building a covered laneway that connects directly to the factory. Why does this matter? Because SpaceX isn't just building rockets faster anymore. They're building them differently, completely differently. This new gigabay structure, it's designed to do something no rocket factory has ever done before, something that makes Mars missions actually possible. Let's dive right in. The foundation that changes everything. Those 17 foundation piles aren't random. They're positioned with surgical precision, forming a pattern that reveals SpaceX's true intentions. Look at the spacing. Traditional rocket factories need massive clearance between work areas. These piles, they're clustered tight, dangerously tight. Why would SpaceX risk crowding their most expensive equipment? Because they're not building a traditional factory at all. The CFA drilling rig isn't just digging holes. It's installing foundation systems designed to support structures that move. Static factories don't need foundations this robust. But what if your factory isn't static? What if it's designed to adapt, to expand, to do things no rocket factory has ever done before? The answer is buried in those concrete piles, and it's about to change how we think about space manufacturing forever. The test that revealed everything. While everyone focused on flashy test flights, SpaceX quietly revolutionized rocket production. Test Tank 17 now carries something called a can crusher cap. Sounds harmless, right? Wrong. This device applies forces that simulate Mars entry conditions. We're talking about 12 G-forces crushing down while internal pressure tries to explode the tank outward. Picture this, squeezing a soda can while someone inflates a balloon inside it. The tank either survives perfectly or fails catastrophically. No middle ground. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. They're not just testing tanks, they're testing production speed. Every tank that survives gets fast-tracked to assembly. Every failure gets analyzed in real time. The result? SpaceX now knows exactly how fast they can build reliable spacecraft without cutting corners. Why do they suddenly need this speed? The answer lies in what happened next. The 48-hour Revolution Booster 16's journey tells the real story. June 5th, lifted onto the orbital mount. June 7th, successful static fire. June 8th, back at the factory, 48 hours. From test to analysis, to production improvements. Traditional aerospace takes months for this cycle. Boeing needs years. SpaceX just proved they can do it in 2 days. But speed isn't the real breakthrough here. Look at what happened during that static fire. The new pump manifold system didn't just work, it worked perfectly. 8 pumps running in perfect synchronization, each pump pushing 1,000 gallons per minute. That's enough fuel to power a small city. 8 of them, running simultaneously, 0 malfunctions. This isn't just engineering excellence. This is production capability that changes the entire space industry.